Another Monday, guys. Another Monday. We're getting through it. Hey, this is another Monday that we're closer to college football. Think of it that way. Mondays suck. I get it. But it is a Monday. It is a Monday that we're closer to college football. And like I've tried to explain, for me, I really don't have any Mondays, which might sound great, but I also don't have any Fridays. I do this every single day. There's no Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. They're all the same. And that's fine because I love college football and I love doing this YouTube channel. You guys have been amazing. We did hit 10,000 subscribers. I know that's old news by now, but I'm still excited about it. It's a big deal. I even got a congratulatory email from YouTube. So I'm excited about that. Might look into the partnership program, see what all the steps you got to do for that. So we'll see how that goes. But college football on the way here. Super, super excited. But if you're a Texas fan, you got to be not too thrilled. Looking forward. You were looking forward to 2022. Terrible 2021. 5-7, not good. And Texas has talent, and their schedule wasn't all that difficult. I mean, they did draw Alabama, but it's a home game, so that helps. But they have gotten riddled with injuries. Their savior of a quarterback is actually getting beat in the starting quarterback competition. So things aren't going as planned for the Texas Longhorns. So this might be yet another year where Texas fans are going to have to wait another year to be back. You might not be back. Fair warning, Texas fans. You might not be back this year. It's not looking good. Your offseason is not looking good at all. I know it was a starting wide receiver. The names escape me, but I know it was a starting wide receiver and a starting offensive lineman that are out. And those are for the season. Those two were for the season. And then you had a running back and a linebacker that had injuries. I don't think they had season-ending injuries, but still, you hate to see injuries. You want everybody to be at full strength. Even as a West Virginia fan, I would say Texas is probably the closest thing that we have to a rival in the Big 12. Texas I'll give Texas fans credit. You guys can talk some good trash, and we've had some really, really good games. In the same sentence as I say you talk good trash, you're still a cool fan base to hang out with. I've been to, I think, 2 Texas games in Morgantown. Both times, the Texas fan base were pretty awesome, pretty laid back. Even I even got a Texas fan to throw down a horns down. On camera, we have it. We still have the proof. Might have to refresh everybody's memory and do a video on that. But yeah, that's how chill laid back. Now this guy was a little wasted, to say the least. And we did pay him $5, but $5 to disrespect and do horns down, that's pretty cheap. Just saying, that's pretty cheap. Let's see. I did forget. Hold on, guys. I did forget to put in the StreamYard link. I was doing good there for a while, remembering that. But then that one weekend threw me off. And ever since then, I have forgotten to do that. And I hate having to do that during the show because it wiggles the screen. But here we go. I got this. I think we're good. Let me double check everything. Because sometimes one wrong keystroke and it messes up. All right. CNKR. Yep. Found one that I missed, actually. I knew it was going to happen. That's why I double checked. All right. Added the J. C2T. All right. I think that's it. This is a call-in show, by the way, but we don't do call-ins over the phone anymore. We do StreamYard. Pretty much all YouTubers are going call-in that way. If you don't like being on camera, that's fine. All you have to do is turn your camera off. But that's how you do it. And before we get really rolling on the show, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, the like button. that doesn't even necessarily mean that you like the video. It just helps the video grow. The more likes you have, the more comments you have, the better the video hits the YouTube algorithm. And whenever that happens, it gets suggested more people click on it, and boom, that's how you grow your audience. So if you haven't hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate that. I know you guys always pull through and get it done. So if you do that, I'd appreciate that, and help grow the stream. That's it right there. And if you have a question for me and any of my guests that are going to come on, you got a question for us, you got a comment for us, or you want to trash talk me, that's fine. That's part of the game. Trolling, that's part of the game as well. Best way to get our attention is the super chat button. That is that little $ that you see on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just under the comments section. Anything you put into that super chat, we will throw on the screen. We will read it. If it's a question, we will answer it to the best of our ability. If it's a comment, we'll address it. And even if it's a trash talk and you're making fun of me, I'll still read it because you're supporting the channel, and I appreciate it, even when you're trash talking me. So before I bring anybody else on, we got 4 ready. I'm going to bring on Joey real quick. So you asked me to do something earlier today, and I completely forgot. Last night, we were supposed to have a live show for the Patreon page, but you were having weather issues.
Yeah. Yeah,
is there a reschedule for that?
Yeah, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to do it tonight at 10 o'clock. We're going to have a D4 on there, and I'm going to have another one too. Probably Tim Prangley, if he can make it at 10 o'clock. So we're going to be talking about Big 12 football in the Patreon page tonight at 10.
Okay, that'll work. All right. I wanted to get that updated, so let me add Jeff. And then we'll add Robert, and then we'll have Mr. Klein and Kenny. Kenny, what's going on, guys?
Doing good.
Doing great. GBD.
Good for a Monday?
Definitely good for a Monday. I'm off in 30 minutes. I'm just bored at the register.
John Bolster, I didn't want to butcher your name. Thank you for the $1.99 donation. What's the news out of Mountaineer fall practice? Well, I haven't got any updated news, but the last thing that I heard was that JT Daniels is fitting in the system perfectly, which is what you want to hear. We all knew that he was talented, but it's a big deal whenever you get a talented quarterback and they don't fit your system or they don't fit the mold. That's kind of the issues that Texas is having right now. They have a very talented quarterback in Quinn Ewers, and he's not winning the quarterback competition right now. Are y'all surprised about that?
Most definitely.
I am. I actually am. I'm not gonna lie. I am, because surprised. I didn't think Hudson Card looked. I mean, he didn't look bad last year, but he didn't look, starter ready. So the fact that Hudson Card is basically whooping Quinn Ewers for that starting quarterback position right now, is that on a scale of 1 to 10, how alarmed should Texas fans be right now?
Maybe 3 or 4.
3 or 4, so not that much.
Yeah, in my case, I would say 5 at the max.
Great, but he hasn't played.
I'll give him 5.
I look at it this way: if the fans wanted a certain quarterback to start, and he's getting beat out by another player, then that tells you that player must be better. So the fans shouldn't be upset, really.
I got you, and I understand that. I guess the ingredient that I sprinkled in there was.
That was Danny
Clark didn't impress me last year.
Sorry.
That was the ingredient that I wanted to throw in there. He didn't impress me, but he's beating Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, but you got to think about the youth there. So, hey, I tell you what, I think with these injuries in Texas and stuff, I don't know what are you thinking? Are they going to? I think they might. They're going to lose to Alabama.
Yes.
They were going to do that to start with. But now, if the injuries keep up and they mount significantly, it's going to affect their Big 12 play.
Oh yeah,
So-
definitely. I agree with that. Well, I have,
And-
and I explained this in the video. I have 4 for sure losses for them now. The home game against Alabama, the neutral game against Oklahoma, and then the 2 road games, one against Oklahoma State and one against Kansas State. I think those are 4 for sure losses. It shrunk after some of the stuff that I've seen in the offseason. They have not had a good offseason at all.
I think West Virginia will beat them in Austin. I mean, we seem to play really good in Austin, and they play good in Morgantown. Just how it seems to be.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think
I
we
mean,
have
the series
good
has
shot.
flipped recently since 2018.
Yeah, it
But
has flipped.
before then, the road team pretty much owned the series. It's kind of flipped a little bit. But we've proven, to your point, Joey, we've proven that we can go into Austin and beat them. We're not really scared of Austin. I just didn't like where it was placed on our schedule. We're coming off a road game against Virginia Tech, a game that I think we win, but it's going to be a hostile environment, and it's going to take everything we got. So I think mentally and physically we're going to be exhausted. There is no bye week between the road trip to Virginia Tech and the road trip to Texas. So that's why I had us losing our first game on the road to Austin. But now with all this stuff happening, I don't know. West Virginia might be able to beat Texas on the road in spite of being emotionally drained.
Yeah, but in my case,
Yeah.
I would
I'll
say
tell you what
that-
I'd like
I got a question for everybody on the panel. Okay. This is mainly from the Pac-12 fan base, and it was thrown up to me. If this one fan was like, if we can get Texas and BYU, I don't see BYU or Texas, either one, going to the Pac-12.
That is straight.
What do y'all
wishful
think?
thinking. Yeah,
Why would Texas go to the Pac-12 when they're going to the SEC?
Yeah.
they already swung and missed on Texas
Yeah, that
anyways.
wouldn't
They
make
actually did
sense.
try to get Texas, and Texas was very close to going to the Pac-12, but they backed out at the last second, and now Texas is headed to the SEC. BYU, they already rejected BYU, and that was I've been saying, and I'm sticking with it. I think that was a big mistake by the Pac-12 to not invite BYU because even with USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, if you insert BYU to the Pac-12 with those losses, I think they're in a much better position than what they are in now as far as revenue and TV value. I think that was an enormous mistake that the Pac-12 made.
I would
but
agree
don't
with
see
that.
California, I don't see Oregon. I don't see maybe Washington. They're not going to take a religious school. Now, I'm not saying their fans are against it, but if you look at their leaders, they're a lot more liberal than conservative. They're not going to take a religious school, and especially a school that's going to go in and tell the Pac-12, we will not play on Sunday.
Well,
Right.
you know, Jeff, do you know that USC started out as a Methodist university, right?
Right. Well, I'm not counting you guys because you're leaving.
Right. Well, I mean, I've heard a lot about the religious stuff in the past. I think it really comes down a lot more to there's a lot of issues with BYU, right? And it's not just based on religion. It really comes down to the Pac-12 is looking for a meet. Well, they already have Utah. I think it'd be great to bring in BYU, but I think hanging on. I don't think that the reason why BYU is not coming is a religious reason. I don't. I'm not too sure about that. And there might be the schools themselves and the populations they're in may be liberal, but the universities themselves aren't leadership at the highest level aren't liberal. So that's why when I hear that, I kind of question it. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know how
Right,
many of you have been
and
watching
another-
like the BYU channel, but they are fired up. BYU's fired up about coming into Big 12.
Oh yeah,
They have been
yeah,
excited.
they are.
That religion's real kind of stupid anyway.
And you stole
Yeah,
my
I don't-
fire, Joe. You stole what I was going to say. That they are very passionate about coming to the Big 12. And I don't see them ever leaving the Big 12 unless SEC or Big 10 calls them.
Yeah, I think that would probably be.
Go 12. Better fit.
GBD, I'd like to get your advice on something, GBD. I'd like to know what you think of the big news of the day and this stupid AP poll that came out, because I don't agree with hardly anything in it except for maybe the first three.
Yeah, the funny thing is, we talked yesterday about video ideas, and I usually have mine, 2 or 3 days in advance. So I got absorbed in that. I haven't even seen them, so I'm bringing it up on my phone. You guys are gonna see
I'm bringing it up myself.
Original first reaction to the first AP poll, because I haven't even seen it. So here we go.
Well,
I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
bringing it
look
up
at it and
myself.
see just how bad this is. All right, so should I start at number 1 or number 25? Which way should I go?
25.
25.
Start at 25. All right, number
Yeah,
25.
I always start from the bottom.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll start at number 25. Number 25, BYU. I mean, that's fair. They did
Very
have a
reasonable.
decent year last year, and I do think BYU is going to be a decent team. Possibly, I would say they're a 9-3 team with the potential of having yet another 10-win season. So I'm okay with that. Number 24, Houston. I think Houston has the chance of being one of the best group of 5 teams in the nation this year. So far, so good. Number 23, Cincinnati. Above Houston, and BYU. Not so sure about that. I don't even think Cincinnati's going to be a top 25 team this year. Sorry, Bearcat fans. But okay, nothing too drastic so far. Number 22, Wake Forest. I'm okay with that, especially with the starting quarterback going down. They might not even be a top 25 team, but that's not too low. At least they're not in the top
With me
20.
with Wake Forest, at least it's a little bit more reasonable on this one compared to how
Yeah.
high they were in the other one.
Number 21, but I think that was before the injury too, though. Number 21, Ole Miss. I think that's a little low. I'd probably have Ole Miss maybe in the top 15, something like that. Number
They need a
20, they
quarterback.
do have Kentucky over Ole Miss, one spot. That could be interesting. All right. Number 19, Arkansas. What?
They should be higher.
Arkansas is too low. They should be about 14.
So they have 21 Ole Miss, 20 Kentucky, and 19 Arkansas.
Yeah, that's
I would have
All
all
three of those should be
all
up.
3 of those teams higher than what they are. To be honest
Exactly.
with you, I think all those can be top 15 teams.
Yeah,
All right,
I
carrying forward.
think Kentucky should be higher. Yeah, I agree with you guys because Kentucky played pretty well
Definitely.
last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 18,
like the
Wisconsin.
best team in the East for the past 5 years.
You guys, but I'm hearing people talk about last year, last 5 years. That doesn't have anything to do with this year, right? Isn't
Right,
this
you have to
poll
look
for-
at the talent
this
that
poll's for
has coming back.
2022, not the best of the past 5 years, right?
Right,
So-
current talent.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I'm judging
the guys
Kentucky
5
what I
years
saw
ago aren't
last
on
year
a team
because
anymore.
a lot of them said that most of the Kentucky players were coming back, so I'm like judging based on what's coming back.
Yeah, Will Lewis is a good quarterback, but they do have a tough schedule. I've been higher on Wisconsin, who's coming in at number 18 than most people. So I actually agree with this. I think Wisconsin is actually the favorite to win the Big Ten West. Number 17, Pitt. You already know that I don't agree with that. Top
No.
25 team, I'm okay with, but I think 17 is a little high. Yeah, I mean, last year
They should be
had-
at 25.
Yeah, like if they're in the top 25 between 20 and 25, I understand that. They're going to have a good defense. But you lost a top 5 quarterback in school history, and Jordan Addison, the best wide receiver in the nation. Number 17 is too high. Number 16, high expectations this year. The Miami Hurricanes. I'm okay with it, but they got to prove it. Number 15, Michigan State. I think that's too high for Michigan State. Okay, I think Kenneth Walker was a big part of that offense last year, and he's gone. And they have some issues on defense they got to figure out. I don't have a problem with Michigan State being a top 25, but top 15, not so sure about that. Number 14, the USC Trojans. Wow, really high.
Okay, yeah.
expectations. The only thing is, and I hate to throw a damp towel on this, but what rank was USC when Stanford upset them last year?
Again, we're doing that game.
I don't think
Is this
they were
about?
ranked.
Is this poll for 2021 or is this poll for 2022?
Yeah, you got 40 new
Because-
players and a new coach there. so it's
40
not
new
even close to
players, all
compete.
starters, all Division One, all not all power, pretty much all Power 5 starters on different teams. They gutted that whole thing, and he brought in a new coaching staff. I mean, just so you guys remember, yes, they got fired. Hell, they got fired the second game of the season, and they put the not a coordinator, not a guy with any coaching experience. They put the cornerback coach as the head coach. Okay, what did you think? They were a 6-6 team. That USC last year was a bad 6-6 team, a really bad 6-6 team. But some of those games they lost, if they had a competent coach involved, that team spiraled to hell. Maybe they wanted that to happen. I don't know.
Dude,
But,
what you're just saying there reminds me, who is driving the bus on that team at that time was more the question.
it was a shit show. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. If you're a coordinator or you're an offensive line coach with coaching experience, and they get the guy who they want to keep happy, who's a recruiting superstar and a great cornerback coach, but the dude has zero coaching experience, and then
that's
I don't
not a
know.
good recipe.
It was like a chicken with a head cut off running around. That's what that season looked like to me. Believe me.
I bet Sorgy Stories is happy. He's a Wisconsin fan. Thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Golden Blue Dude, congrats on 10,000, my man. Let's go Mountaineers on Wisconsin and Marquette. Football undefeated since 1960 because they've never had a football program. There you go. I like it. And we appreciate the $5 donation, Mitchell Mullins. So thank you for supporting Golden Blue Dude.
Let me add something real quick.
It was more of maybe 14 is not a good number for USC type of jab. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree.
They were number 14 when they got beat by Stanford. But I think USC beats Fresno State and Stanford right off the bat. So I don't think you have anything to worry about.
They're 8-4, 9-3 team. That's going to put them somewhere between 15 and 20 at the end of the year. So that's probably at the high end of what we probably think they're going to end up.
Right, and if they upset a team, then there you go. You're right where you need to be. Number 13,
Real quick before you move on.
State.
Real quick before you move on. Exploring with Ben and Sam, I just added you as a moderator in the chat. Sorry, GBD. I didn't have no way to type, but I've got my keyboard off to the side. So
okay, no problem. Number 13 is NC State. I know NC State has a lot of talent coming back, and they're going to have a lot of experience. The problem that I have with NC State is coaching. Dave Doran, he's recruited at a decent level at NC State, but he seems to find a way to not get the most out of his players. Like even last year, it was at home. Clemson was having a down year, and yet they still had to go into overtime and barely pull out a squeaker against Clemson. Is it just me, or is NC State primed for a big-time letdown because they are being hyped up?
I can see that.
I agree with you, GBD. I really think that NC State should have been ranked 21st because of for one, is lack of coaching. Two, they got good recruits, but they're not at the level of the bigger Power 5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm guilty of overranking them. I do have high expectations, but I just feel like ultimately they are going to somehow figure out how to waste this opportunity. And they're definitely not. I definitely don't think they're going to win the Atlantic because this year they have to go on the road to Clemson, so that's going to be a loss. So they're going to have to rely on Clemson losing 2 games in the ACC, and I just don't see that happening. So it's just going to be one of those seasons where you had the talent, you had the experience, but the schedule and the coaching didn't quite come together. Moving on, number 12, Oklahoma State. I think that is too high. Losing Knowles to Ohio State, and I know they got Derek Mason, and he's a decent defensive coordinator. I know that, but they did lose some key pieces on that defense, and their bread and butter has been that defense. I think Oklahoma State's offense is going to be better, but I think the defense is going to take a noticeable step backwards. Am I the only one that feels that way? Because it feels like everybody is super high on Oklahoma State this year.
I think they're going to take a pretty good size step back. I mean, I put them in the top 25, but I
Right.
think maybe down around 22 or
They
so.
could be a good contender for the Big 12. I mean, they're going to beat Texas. Yeah, they're going to beat Texas. So I had to think about that for a second.
Half the teams in the Big 12 will do that.
Oklahoma
If
finishes 9-3, they won't be in the
beat
top
Texas.
10. If they end up losing,
Yeah.
dropping 3 games, they won't be in the top 10.
Yeah, you have to, especially in the Big 10, in the Big 12, you have to have a 10-win season if you want to finish in the top 10, and even that can be suspect.
Well, you know,
they-
they're going to be solid on. They're going to be solid on defense, coach scheme wise and coaching wise. I'm sure of that. But you get to see what Jeff Levy and I forgot his name, UCF kid. It depends on.
Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel. I mean, if that's hot, then yeah, then they're definitely a top 10.
Well,
10
I
and
don't
2
think they're
type
going to have a
team.
bad defense. I just don't think it's going to be as good. Like, that's still not saying it's not going to be good. It's going to be a good defense, but it's not going to be as good as what it was
Not-
last year because of what they lost.
They won't have the linemen like they had at Clemson. They won't have the front 7 like they had at Clemson. That's for sure.
Right.
It's gonna take Bates at least 2 or 3 years to get. I mean, he's already doing it this year. And when he builds that line again, there's these teams you see that somewhere like starting at Miami, you know, and then up through Oklahoma. When these new regimes start getting linemen, that's where you can see these guys perennial top 10s. But right now, it's just too easy to put it's too early to put Oklahoma, USC, and Miami because they just don't have the lines. When Venables and Bates get a line like a Clemson type line, then you'll start seeing the kind of defense we saw him coach over at Clemson, and they're going to be a force.
That's fair.
I don't think so this year.
Speaking of new coaching regimes, Dan Lanning in Oregon lands Oregon almost in the top 10. They come in at number 11. What do y'all think about that? I think that's
A
way
coach don't
overrated.
make you jump that high. Sorry.
He's got the
I think it's
players.
ridiculous.
Are you sure he's got the players?
He's got the players.
On defense, I think Oregon's
It
going to have a
is-
decent defense, but there's a lot of questions on offense.
I think he can finish 10 to 15. I think Oregon only loses maybe 3 games.
I'm gonna bend on 8-4. I think 8-4, and I think that's good. I think they have the potential of going 7-5. I don't think 6-6 is in the question. There's just not that many good teams on their schedule, but there are enough good teams on Oregon's schedule to where they could pull a 7-5. But I'm leaning towards 8-4. So comparing that with their ranking, I think this is way off. But that's just my opinion. Pat Attack 12987. Thank you for the $2 donation. Says I'm boycotting UT fan now. I'm a Bama fan. So it looks like Texas coming into the SEC, they're going to be boycotted right off the bat. Was that Did anybody expect that one?
No.
No.
I didn't. Especially out of Bama.
No way.
I was thinking he meant Tennessee.
No, Texas, because they're coming in. And a lot of people, and I agree with them, a lot of people think that Texas might try to come in and throw their weight around. And I think they'll try to, but they're going to find out real quick they're not going to have any weight to throw around. So,
But here's my
They'll
problem.
be the weight that gets thrown around. Like I said, Vanderbilt will beat their ass.
I hope so. That would be hilarious.
Sorry,
I don't-
Texas
I don't
fans.
want him
but
Little
I don't
tidbit
want
about
him as
that.
a Bama
Vanderbilt
fan.
actually has been beaten through the history of Vanderbilt in Texas. Vanderbilt owns Texas on that right now. In that
I think
rivalry.
I heard something about that.
Yeah, I looked at the
I don't
rivalry.
think I was alive at that
I
point.
came up with a conclusion. Looking at all the Big 12 schools, Texas leads the series with all the Big 12 schools, except for one, that's West Virginia.
Yep.
I was
That's a
like,
fact.
no wonder they can push their weight around because they've owned pretty much the whole conference.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's a pretty good rivalry between West Virginia and Texas, because we actually own that series since joining the Big 12.
Yeah, you're
And
only
then on
one loss
the
away
other
from
side of the
general.
coin, Oklahoma straight up owns us. Like, we have not beaten Oklahoma one time since joining the Big 12. We've been close several times, but you know what they say? Close only counts in horseshoes and grenades. So an
grenades.
L is
We
an
got
L.
them this year, though.
Just do me a favor, GBD. Tell them not to become a Bama fan. We got enough bandwagoners. I don't want a guy going to be a fan of Bama when we go after Saban retires. If we slip for 5 or 6 years, I don't want people jumping off.
How big of a percentage do you think is going to be jumping off?
I bet we lose 2 million. There's a ton of Bama fans, only because we're winning.
Thank you, David Cummings, for the $10 donation. Says 17 days, yes, until kickoff. I was in Pittsburgh this past weekend for the stadium tour and only saw about 3 Pitt fans. W fans were in abundance. Let's go. I'm telling you, people do not realize how many West Virginia fans are going to be at that game. I'm thinking at least 30,000, could be even more. We gobbled up in those tickets. Sorgy Stories, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, Golden Blue, we dropped football in 1960 for basketball. LOL. There you go. I thought he's ribbing me, right? Because Marquette's never played football, right?
No, they played football.
They have. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason they were one of the few universities that have never played football. Well, since 1960, at least you're undefeated. There you go. That'll work. All right, so now we're into the top 10 of the AP poll. I need to do a video on this tomorrow because I didn't even realize the AP came out today. I was busy with my other videos. Anyways, top 10, here we go. Number 10, Baylor. I'm okay with that. I had Baylor a little bit higher. I mean, the quarterback that took them to 12 wins last year got beat out, so that tells me that this new quarterback's even better. Number 9, Oklahoma. So it looks like that they're already expecting Oklahoma to be the cream of the crop of the Big 12 and be the contenders, the leading contenders for the Big 12 championship. I don't see that. I think Oklahoma, they might actually be a tad worse than last year, and that's not me saying they're going to be really, really bad, but maybe finish the same record with 10-2 or maybe 9-3, just not look quite as good. I mean, we got to remember this is a big, big coaching change, not just coaches, but in style. You're going from one coach who coaches offensively to a different coach who coaches defensively. There are going to be some growing pains.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And, brace yourself, Oklahoma. I'm not saying that you're going to fall off a cliff. It's going to be horrible to be an Oklahoma fan or anything like that. But I do think that you're going to fall off just a smidge in year one. But I do think Brent Venables figures it out. How do y'all feel about Oklahoma?
Agree with that. I don't agree.
I don't agree
9
with
and 10 at all. I think Baylor is a lot higher. I think Oklahoma should be a lot lower. I don't think Oklahoma should be in the top 15 myself. I think it should be around 17, 18.
Yeah. When has the Associated Press ever got it right?
Right.
That's true.
And, I mean,
and that's why we're giving our opinion, because we are right?
Right.
Well, I was going to say,
no, we're guessing just as much as they are, but still, I mean, ours sounds better.
I agree.
I was going to say my joke to the very
Baylor
end.
last year, Baylor won the Big 12. They didn't lose a lot. I mean, they lost a running back, but Baylor's going to be probably just as dominant as they were last year. I think that, they're the front runners in the Big 12. Why put Oklahoma ahead of them? I just don't understand that at all. Oklahoma,
I agree with that.
Brand new coaching staff. They lost 2 5-star quarterbacks to both USCs. And I lost a ton of other transfers. I know it's next man up, and I know that they got a lot of talent, but you got a brand new coaching staff, brand new players. I just don't see Oklahoma being a top 15 team this year.
And this is not us trash talking Oklahoma. We're just trying to keep Oklahoma fans from getting their expectations too high. Mm-hmm. And then if they overachieve, that's fine. Then that's a bonus. But bring your expectations down. And then, if they overachieve, you're good to go. But you could be setting yourself up for a very disappointing season if you're expecting, to be Big 12 champs, possible, playoff contenders. I really like this super chat right here. Love it. One of the best I've seen so far. Denver Snyder, thank you for the $10 donation. This is something that I have been preaching for the past year, ever since I started talking West Virginia, Notre Dame, the ACC. He says, West Virginia, WVU, at Pitt, sold out. That is a fact, confirmed. West Virginia at Virginia Tech, sold out. That is a fact, confirmed. Yet, according to ACC fans, West Virginia brings nothing. Brings your fans to the stadium and eyeballs to the network. ACC mistake. Ding, ding, ding. 100% true. This isn't just about West Virginia and what they bring with their fan base. It's West Virginia getting more out of the ACC than the ACC does themselves. West Virginia sells out road games, not just home games, road games against ACC opponents. There is a ton of value in the ACC. Now, I'm not sure if it's a great move for West Virginia to join the ACC now because of all the shakiness, but I will say this. If the ACC isn't interested in West Virginia, then they're not very smart. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what value looks like. I mean, just like Denver said, look at the games that are being sold out already.
Yeah, with me, I would say
they
ACC is smoking something.
ACC signed a 20-year. The ACC signed a 20-year contract that's put them far behind everybody else. So that's all you need to know about how smart they are.
Yeah, and they're trying to get out of it. FSU 45, thank you for the $10 donation. Says, good evening, Going to Bluetooth and everyone. I think that sticking to the AP poll and the college football playoff poll is all college football needs. I would agree with that. The poll that needs to go is coaches poll. 100% agree with that because it doesn't matter, and it's always crazy, by the way. Go Mountaineers and Roll Tide. FSU 45 is a great supporter of Going to Bluetooth, and I'm actually going up to the Backyard Brawl on September 1st, which is a Thursday, and whenever me and him got to talking, he actually lives only about a mile from where I stay up there in Charleston, West Virginia. So I'm actually going to be able to go over to FSU 45's house and hang out with him for a little while. He's even asked me, what kind of pizza. So we're going to hang out and eat some pizza. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a good time right there. All right, let's keep going on with the AP poll. I think we got hung up on Oklahoma. All right, number 8, Michigan.
That's good. That's good for them.
I tend to agree with you, Will, because here's the thing. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh did have a breakout year last year, right? But he struggled for so long. They restructured his contract. He earned back that money, and they restructured again to where he's making a lot of money again. So I'm good with Michigan at 8, but I don't think they're going to be that good. But I think they deserve the respect of being labeled at number 8 in the preseason. Does that make sense? I think
that sounds about right.
I just don't think they'll finish at 8.
Not me either.
I'm waiting to get off.
Does anybody really know much about Michigan? Are they just like this smoke screen right now that we're all trying to see through that we can't really figure out?
I don't get the smoke screen. I get the drunken uncle that you don't know which direction he's going to go.
Fair assessment.
Well, they're losing a lot on defense, obviously, with Hutchinson and the bookend got it. That's I don't really. I wish One Scoop John was here. He'd be able to tell us all about it, but I don't really know enough to say otherwise. I mean, they got some people coming up, but man, to lose a player like that, it's could be devastating. So I don't know.
That's the key play. That's why I'm saying I think they've earned the respect to be preseason ranked number 8, but I don't see them finishing in the top 15. I think they could potentially be a top 25 team, but I don't know about number 8 as far as the end of the year. Thank you, FSU 45, supporting the channel yet again. This time a $5 donation says, I have 8 favorite teams in college football, and they won't change. Well, that's being a loyal fan. You support your team no matter what happens. I respect all opinions. Blessings. And you know what? That's what college football is all about. We're not always going to agree on everything, and of course, we're not all fans of the same team. Number 7, Utah. I am very okay with this. I do think that Utah has a ton of pressure on them because a lot of people, including myself, are thinking that the playoff hopes of the Pac-12 hinge on Utah, and that actually fed into part of the title that I put on this live show. I do think that the Pac-12 is running out of time as far as being able to make the playoffs in the future. I think they get picked apart, and even if they do continue to exist, I don't think that they'll qualify to grab an automatic bid into the playoffs. So I think they're running out of time. This is a high-pressure situation for Utah. They have the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Their schedule is difficult but manageable. The one problem is their first game, they start off on the road to Florida, and if they lose that game, it's done. They're not getting in the playoffs. I don't care if they run the table. If you're a Pac-12 team and you have one loss, and that one loss is to Florida, you're not getting into the playoffs.
Personally, if I think the only way I would think Utah would even have a chance is if it was in Utah instead. That's the only way I would think it would even have a chance.
If it was in Utah, I would have Utah by 3 touchdowns. I think they definitely have a chance in the swamp. But my point is, if they do get beat, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a competitive, close game. But a loss to Florida on the road to start the year, that's going to be a tough hurdle to get over. Not just for Utah, but for the Pac-12.
Definitely.
Does anybody else? Okay, Tim, I know you had the bullseye because USC is still technically in the Pac-12. If Utah drops that first game to Florida, is it over? Does the Pac-12 not once again? Does the Pac-12 not reach the playoffs?
Oh, did you forget about Oregon?
Yes, I did actually.
Okay,
I don't think they're getting in. I think all the chips are on Utah. I really do.
So you know the only thing more worthless than a preseason top 25 is a verbal commitment in like May. Okay, this stuff is like, it's great entertainment. Let's really, I mean, it's fun to think about this. I've got no idea how Utah or Oregon will look. I know we're gonna know exactly what teams they are after week 1.
Right.
But as of right now, I don't know. I could see Utah goes to Oregon during the regular season. If Utah, a scenario, absolutely, they could be an 11-1 Pac-12 team and make the playoffs. If the SEC beats up on each other, right?
Right.
Georgia takes a couple losses. If somehow Ohio State's defense isn't corrected by Knowles and they drop 2 or 3, 2 games. That's right. And PSU and Michigan State and Michigan all beat each other up. I mean, anything can happen. We know anything and everything can happen. Is it likely? Probably not. But if they lost, is it over? I wouldn't say it's over. It just really depends on how the season checks out.
That's probably how I should have worded it, likely, because they would need a lot of help to get in.
Who knows? What if Clemson? I don't see it happening. I think Clemson's defense is disgusting. Even without Venables, they have so much talent. And that they're and I think DJ was hurt last year. You got
and scared. He was scared.
Bo Collins is gonna be. I'm telling you guys, remember that name, Bo Collins. I know I'm completely biased because he went to my high school, but I mean,
he's legit though.
Oh, but he's awesome. SC wanted him badly. He's like, no thanks, I'm going to South Carolina. In the state of South Carolina, sorry, not South Carolina, not a game.
Big difference. Big difference.
Yeah, I gotta be careful. Jordan Bowman will kill me. So
he's watching too, man. He's always watching.
I think that they should be okay. But there's so many different scenarios. What if there's a couple injuries? I mean, so we never know. I'm saying likely no, possible yes.
Here's what I would say. Okay, so if they drop that first game, number one, they have to win out. We all know that, right? Number two, they need Oregon and all the other. Well, it can't be all the teams, but some of the teams. Or do they play USC in the regular season? Utah? Yeah, they're in the South.
Oh yeah, they play in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
They might play them twice.
Okay, so they get USC on the schedule. They need some of their opponents to be good. They need to beat them, but they need those opponents to be good. That'll help their strength of schedule, and it'll help their clout. Okay, that's recipe number one. Beyond that, they're going to need the Big 12 to beat up on each other and play themselves out of the playoffs. They might need Clemson to slip up and not make the playoffs. and then hopefully there isn't two SEC teams good enough to make the playoffs. So they would need a few things to happen. They don't need all of this to happen at the same time, but a combo of one or two of these things, at least one of them, maybe two of them, for them to get back in.
Well, you just changed my mind though. So let's just assume let's say that Oregon and USC are like, let's say they're 10-2 type teams ish,
Okay.
right? 9-3, 10-2. If they lost to Florida week 1, but then they just dismantle which I think is a very good possibility in Salt Lake City, and then they rematch and beat them, as well as beating Oregon on the road. I don't know many teams that have much stronger resume than that, actually. So I don't know. I think you actually talked me into it. I think that if they lost to Florida but figure it out going forward, they drop an early game, because week 1, man, things happen. They're traveling 3,000 miles or 2,500 miles. Who knows what could happen in that game? But
yeah, you made me think the same.
It could happen.
Well, and think about it like this: the Big 12 is not going to have an undefeated champion. They're going to have at least one loss.
I agree with that.
I do believe Clemson loses a game, so there's a one-loss team. I think Georgia loses a game in the regular season, and I think we beat them in the SEC champion. That gives them 2 losses.
I would agree with that. Now the only thing that I would say is, I think if Clemson picks up one loss but wins the ACC championship, they're in. As far as over a one-loss Clemson ACC champion is going to get in over a one-loss Pac-12 champion. Now, I didn't mean to say that they would be in no matter what, although Clemson does have clout, but maybe it depends on who they would lose to. But if they're going head-to-head against a one-loss Pac-12 team, Clemson's going to win that argument.
Wait, hold on. Wait. I got to jump in. Under my scenario, if you're beating 9-3 or 10-2 team 3 times during the regular season, is Clemson going to have the ability in the ACC to have those kind of wins?
Yeah, who's Clemson playing? Miami?
Not necessarily, but I'm going on the fact that the playoff committee wants Clemson in the playoffs, and they do have clout. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. But if those two resumes, those two brands are put side by side, even if Utah has the better resume, they're going to put Clemson in. However, I will say this: that does raise an interesting point. If Oregon or USC has one loss, and they're going up against a one-loss Clemson, and they do have the resume, a USC and an Oregon brand, they might be able to beat a Clemson brand with that scenario. I don't think and I know this is playing favorites, but let's be honest, the College Football Playoff Committee, they play favorites. It's not cool. I don't like it, but they do. So I think the Pac-12 would have a bigger chance with a one-loss champion getting in if it was Oregon or USC. I don't think Utah would have as good of a chance as.
Yeah, I don't see Oregon or USC as a one-loss team, but
you see what I'm saying? Like,
I do see what you're saying. Yeah, I'd love to see it, but I don't see it.
They're looking at money, and USC and Oregon are bigger moneymakers than Utah. So if they finish the season one-loss Pac-12 champs, they would be more likely to get in over one-loss Utah.
Well, again, we're assuming there's right off the top. You guys are assuming there's 2. I don't know. I mean, if you're looking at if these are big ifs, right?
Right.
If you have any of those 3, Oregon, USC, or Utah, going 11-1 and losing to one of those 3 schools and winning the championship game over one of those 3 schools, it's going to be, unless you're undefeated, it's going to be kind of hard to put stick, even in the SEC, to put 2 teams in. Not that I'm saying that the second team might not be better, but then I just don't. How are they going to argue that? I just can't see how you could argue it really with a straight face.
I have a good question. What happens if Utah just salts to earth and goes undefeated in the Pac-12?
Well, they're in.
They very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's something else
no
too.
doubt.
We've talked about that. I don't think Clemson will make it through the season unscathed either. I think they'll have a loss somewhere. And if we look at Utah last year they started out kind of slow and had a loss and a couple of losses. By the end of the year, they were probably one of the best teams in the nation, other than probably Georgia, or Alabama. But Utah was probably one of the better teams in the country last year at the end of the season. So they could have a slow start again starting out. Who knows? They could fall to Florida and then go undefeated the rest of the way. I could see them still making the playoffs. But like I said, I think everybody's going to have a loss.
The counter to that, Joey, is I agree that they got really, really hot and they were at their best at the end of the year. But they did come up against an Ohio State team in the Rose Bowl that didn't win the Big Ten, didn't win the Big Ten East, and Utah did build a nice lead on them, and then Ohio State came back and beat them. So even when Utah was on fire, they still beat a second best division team in the Big Ten. Does that show us how far behind the Pac-12 is? The best of the best team in the Pac-12, who was on fire, went up against the second best team in the East Division, and Ohio State they could have an argument as being the second best overall because the West Division was weak. But still, maybe Utah can take a step forward, but you can't base it on that because even as hot as what they were at the end of last year, they still weren't good enough to beat the second best team in the Big Ten. So my thinking is they need to be as hot as they were at the end of that of last year and more.
Yep.
They lost on a last minute field goal. That's what they lost the game on. Yeah,
that's true, but it's still a loss.
Right.
I mean, a loss is a loss, but let's face it, you could flip a coin on that one.
I think somebody had an echo.
Now,
The real
GPD,
you're
can I
feeding
talk
back.
about the next team?
All right, yeah, I'm the real MVP. Turn down the show if you will. You had a feedback. I had to mute you for a second.
Yeah, I lost connection to my internet for a second. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. It happens.
I would say this: if Clemson loses one game, it's probably going to be at Notre Dame, and if that's their only loss, I don't see how they're left out.
Who are we talking about?
Clemson.
Yeah, I don't think anyone sees them being left out with the one loss. Hey, I think you might have. Do you have your YouTube on in the back?
Yeah, I think that's what it sounds like. We're going to echo over the mic because you're listening to us.
Or just mute the real when you're not talking.
Yeah, that'll work.
No one's saying that a one loss.
That works.
No one's saying that a one loss Clemson's gonna not be in the playoffs. I think very much they're going to be.
Yeah.
No, I just said I think they'd lose a game. I do believe they're in the playoffs. I don't see them going undefeated.
And not just because of the one loss. What's going to be is the narrative's going to be that they have, and they're going to have, a disgusting defense that's going to win impressively in those other games. That is why Clemson's going to be in the title game. I mean, that's on the scenarios we were throwing around. I'm thinking that's going to be right or wrong. Believe it or not, if you think you don't have to win your conference to be in the playoffs, I'm thinking more like it was going to be whoever that second place SEC team, depending on how that shakes out. Because
if it's a 2-loss Alabama team, there's a shot. If it's a 2-loss Georgia team, there's no shot. Now it's unlikely, but if Alabama lost to Georgia by 3 and Texas A&M by 3, and they're both top 5 teams, it's going to be hard to leave them out.
The only way that a 2-loss Georgia gets in is if they win the SEC championship game. That is the only way.
That's true. I was talking about Alabama.
I'll give you 14 points right now in Texas A&M if you want to bet as much as you want.
Oh, no. I'm just saying for a scenario. I think Alabama destroys Texas A&M by 35 plus. I think Saban's going to go all in. But I'm just throwing out scenarios.
Definite win. That's
so under your scenario, we're talking about Clemson getting it. So we're assuming Clemson in. And you're saying, that scenario and Alabama losing 2 games. You're saying that a 1-loss Pac-12 team, let's say Utah losing at Autzen by 3 points is going to be left out. Is that what you're going to say?
Well, it would depend on. I think most people would compare the Georgia-Florida game to the Utah-Florida game, or the Alabama-Georgia game to the Utah-Florida game, because they've got a common opponent link. So it depends on how they look.
Week one comparing a
is going to get in over a 2-loss non-conference winner. Even Alabama.
Well, again, it's Alabama, and I think as Gold and Blue dude said earlier, Alabama's favored by the committee. Alabama's going to be given the benefit of the doubt.
My scenario is over.
But I
my
think they've
scenario-
earned it, though.
They
I think
will
they've
get
earned that
benefit of the doubt,
favoritism.
but they're not going to get benefit of the doubt if they lose 2 games and another team wins their conference and only has 1 loss. There's no way
Well,
they can do that.
If Alabama loses 2 games and wins the SEC championship, they're in. That's my opinion. I really do.
Right,
think
but he has us losing to Georgia in the championship.
Yeah, if you have 2 losses and
Yeah,
you
we're
lose
not
to
in.
Georgia in the SEC championship, unless there's complete chaos and other conference champions have 3 losses, then yeah, you're not getting in. Let me
I get that.
real quick. Hold on, guys. David, hopefully I'm not butchering this. Okay, David Bressler, thank you for the $5 donation. Says OU is a top 5 all-time program. Facts. That's why we will never bring our expectations down. That's a fair statement. I understand that thinking. I'm just letting you know this year might be an adjustment year, but I understand what you're saying.
You left the
for-
crap out. You left the crap out in that crap sandwich. In the middle there, he says that's for West Virginia and USC fans. Yeah, hey David, USC is a top 5 all-time program as well. Dude. I really don't know what you're talking about, man.
And,
our
and
expectations
USC
are
has a
high,
few
but we're
more
not
national
absurd.
championships.
We realize.
Tim,
that
how
we're
many
not gonna-
national championships does USC have?
11.
And how many teams have more than them?
Alabama.
Oh, okay, yeah, that kind of settles that
Notre
debate
Dame.
pretty easily.
I think Notre Dame has more.
Yeah, Notre Dame does too.
Do they? I thought they had 11 too.
Or maybe they have 11. Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's
For West Virginia, I can't say anything because they've owned us in the Big 12. We have 0 national championships, so I'll let USC and Oklahoma argue.
I'm claiming
So, let's
1922.
finish that stupid bet. Hold on, guys. Let's finish that. It says
And
that's
let's not
for-
forget
that's for
about
West
this.
Virginia
When
and
West
USC
Virginia
fans.
was left out when
Hold
they
on,
were
Kenny.
undefeated.
Hold on, Kenny. Hold on. Let me finish this. He says that's for West Virginia and USC fans. Love the channel. Road to 5,000, baby. Yeah, we will. Me and Joey been talking. We think we're going to be at 15,000. Did I say 5,000 or 15?
You said
5,000.
5,000.
I meant 15. I know. I caught myself though, right? I caught myself.
Yeah, you were about to say 5,000.
Road to 15,000, baby. What are we going to say, Joey, for 15,000? What's the timeline here?
Well, I think we'll hit 15,000 by sometime around October.
October. I like it.
I think-
All right.
I
So
think so.
there's our expectations. All right. So the last team that we saw was number 7, Utah. So we're getting close to the top 5. Number 6. This is just because of recruiting, based on coaching and achievement. I do not agree with this. Number 6, Texas A&M.
Too high for an 8.
Too high. Most overrated team in the poll, I would say.
My question is, when do they play Alabama? What week is that?
October 8th on my birthday.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
right.
they'll be well out of the top 15 after that beating. So don't worry about where they are right now.
Yeah.
Jeff, your birthday's October the 8th.
October the 8th, 1970.
Nice.
Mine is October the 7th, 1969.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
okay.
Very nice.
That'll work. So we're all in agreement that Texas A&M at 6 is kind of a running joke, right?
Yeah,
Well,
that's,
again,
that's
we're-
more of a
we're
running
doing that-
joke.
We're doing that
Yeah.
thing again. I mean, they might be really good. I'm just kind of joking around. I mean, I think
Well,
Alabama's going to lay it to them.
we have to find something to talk about. I mean, college football
But-
hasn't been played, so that's
They've had 2 really good recruiting classes in the
But
past
we
2
all
years.
know that Jimbo Fisher does not develop his players. So where
Yeah.
are we going with this?
He does the least with the most. I mean, facts are facts. I know he had a decent year in 2020, and they came, within 1 game of getting to the playoffs, but that's it. Every
Yeah.
other
Is that
year at Texas A&M has been a
Yeah.
letdown.
Is that a Texas
Gold
thing?
and Blue dude. I even
With
looked
the,
at Jimbo Fisher's records. In due time, his records drop as he stays at one school. I noticed. So it's.
I'm
this
just trying
could
to figure out,
be-
is that a Texas thing? Of doing less with the most talent. I mean, I'm talking about the state of Texas.
Yep.
If you think about the state of Texas, you got UT. They're horrible, and they've got the most talent, probably the most talent in the country. And then you take Texas A&M, not setting the world on fire. Got some of the best talent in the country. TCU gets
And
some
then
great
Texas
talent.
fans,
What
I'm
do they
The
do?
lower
sorry.
brands do the opposite. The lower brands do the opposite. They do more with less.
But now
Yes.
that they got NIL,
Texas
why doesn't-
fans, sorry, but Steve Sarkisian was a bad hire.
I agree.
Thank
But
God I'm
now
not a
that they
Texas
got
fan.
NIL DVD,
Yeah, A&M.
why doesn't Jimbo Fisher? Why don't Jimbo Fisher give free crab legs to the quarterback? That's how he won a championship last time.
That's exactly right. You are 100% correct because a lot of people, I'm glad you said that actually, Jeff, because a lot of people, whenever I give my opinion that Jimbo Fisher is a bad coach, they're like, oh, he won a national championship at Florida State. No, he didn't. It was a guy by the name of Jameis Winston that won that national championship for Florida State. And whenever Jimbo Fisher left Florida State, he left them in the worst shape that they had ever been. And I'm talking, this goes back to pre-Bobby Bowden. They had, and it was literally ranked, the worst offensive line in the nation. That Florida State offensive line, the year after Jimbo Fisher left, was rated as the worst offensive line in the nation. So he left a top-tier program, not a blue blood, okay? Florida State is not a blue blood.
No, it was a top tier
But
program.
Bobby Bowden had built them up into something spectacular. And then Jimbo Fisher rides his coattails for a little while, wins the national championship with Jameis Winston, but then takes a big old dump on Florida State and walks out.
Yeah, going blue, dude. You actually changed my mind when you said that Bobby Bowden recruited Winston. That was where I was like, okay, now that makes sense. So, remember, I was completely
Jimbo's
clueless
just not a very
what was
good
going
coach.
on there.
He's an excellent recruiter, and a lot of people can't separate the two. There is a difference between recruiting and coaching. Recruiting is a part of coaching, but once you recruit them, it's up to you to also develop them. So even though Jimbo has recruited and recruited and recruited and paid and paid and paid, once it comes to game time, he can't develop his players. I mean,
Yeah, he didn't learn
it's
anything from
proven.
Bobby.
Jimbo Fisher is an excellent offensive coordinator, but when it comes to coaching, he's not a coach.
I don't even agree with that. I think he's a good recruiter. That's it.
He's a used
I have a
car
question.
salesman who gets recruited.
There you go. That's a good
I have
one.
a question for
I like it.
I have a question for John Russell. John, where are you driving through right now? Where are you driving through, John? Where are you driving at?
Your mic, we're not hearing you through your mic. I know Millis does some streams like this, and I know
Yeah.
he can hear it, but I don't
think you're
think
coming
his
in,
mic,
John.
I don't think his mic is working. Try again. Test again. Testing,
Talk to
testing. That's a little bit better. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean it's low, but we
Little
can
bit, yeah.
hear you.
Sorry about that. It's the headset, I think.
No problem. Where you at, buddy?
I'm in Mississippi right now. actually.
Mississippi. I've been through Mississippi. So you're out on the plains?
Well, no, I'm in northern Mississippi. I'm closer to Oxford. I'm from Arkansas. I drive a truck for a living, so I'm always out here somewhere.
You know, I've never been an over-the-road trucker, but I did merchandise trucking for Carolina Bottling and American Bottling Company. So I miss it. I actually had to give my CDLs up because of the what was it, the DOT card. My back went out and I couldn't pass it, so I had to give up.
Yeah,
And
the
that
DOT
was like
physical card.
the DOT physical, and that was really, really tough because I took pride in my CDLs. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I got my permit in one try, but the actual CDLs took me 3 tries.
Ooh.
It took me 3 tries to get that thing, but I finally did get it. And I drove a truck for Carolina and American Bottling for, I want to say, 4 years out of my life. And I went to go renew them, and I went for the DOT physical, and I couldn't pass it, so they took my DOT card, and I had to switch to a regular license. But I enjoyed having my CDLs.
And I've been out here for 20 years. I'm a regional driver now, so I'm home 2 or 3 times a week. So,
Well, I'm not going
Who's
to
your
lie.
team, John?
What's that, Joey?
Who's your team?
I couldn't understand you.
Who's your team,
Who's
buddy?
your team?
Who's your football team? Who do you
Arkansas.
pull? Arkansas.
Arkansas.
That makes sense because you're from
Yeah.
Arkansas. So I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I took my CDL license test, I was actually intimidated. All right, because the company that I worked for, Carolina Bottling, they delivered they delivered your RC products, your 7-Up products. You know, the kind of not the main brand like Pepsi and Coke, but the next level.
Right.
And the way they trained you is you went out and you got your CDLs, you know, memorized where all the parts are and what they do and all that stuff.
That's the
and
hardest
different
part.
scenarios. Yeah. But then after that, so I got my permit, right? And on the way back to the plant, we're on I-85, which is an interstate in South Carolina, actually one of the most dangerous interstates in the nation. And he
very
pulls
familiar
off
with
to the
that.
side on the interstate and says, "You're driving." And I was like, I thought we were going to practice in the parking lot. Or no, this is the best way to. Man, I was sweating
Oh
bullets.
God.
So he had me nervous
I was
from the
cranked
get-go
right
as
behind
far
it
as getting my
down.
CDL license, and that's the real reason why I missed it the first 2 times. I was more nervous than anything. I mean, you can ask John. It's not that difficult to actually drive a truck. You do have to get used to, you know, dock backing, you know, turning the opposite to get it to swing the other way. You do have to get used to that. But other than that, it's basically like
Just
driving a
have to-
car. So it was.
Yeah, except it's the size of a mobile home.
Right.
Or
we
it
go.
feels that way.
Yeah, exactly. But it does give you a sense of accomplishment when you have your CDLs because, you know, it takes effort. It takes effort, and not everybody can do that.
Could
Let me
I
get to-
intrude for a moment?
Go ahead.
So you guys made a statement just a few minutes ago that FSU is not a blue blood program.
No.
It's not.
What? Okay, how?
How the blue blood programs, and I did a video on this. There are 8 teams that are blue
I don't care about your video. Tell me how FSU is not a blue blood.
because
He's explaining
FSU
it.
did not have football when football was playing back in the 30s. They didn't have a powerful team. The blue blood.
So we're not 200 years old. Is that why?
That's why you're not a blue blood.
That's not a reason to not make somebody not a blue blood.
Well,
That's
Why?
not-
Hold on, let's spin it the other way. Why? should
Miami was not around for that long, but yet
Miami's not a blue
I
Miami's
blood.
think
not
we
a
could
blue
all
blood.
personally.
Miami's not a
It's
blue
the same
blood
thing
either.
with Penn State not being a blue blood.
Penn
Same
State's
thing.
not a blue blood.
No.
Well, but
Yeah,
no one
that's what I'm
thinks
saying.
Penn
They're not
State's
even
blue.
blue
I'm
blood
saying
either.
FSU, Miami, Florida too. They're blue blood programs
How?
because they will always be pinnacle of college football. They will.
Wait,
every
Florida's the
one of those
pinnacle of
teams,
college football right
each
now?
one of those teams, recruiting runs through the state of
What
Florida.
have I been watching?
Wait a minute.
What have I been watching?
Florida.
Yeah, you've been watching something else. You must be stuck in Mountaineer Network because I promise you this.
So
Football
wait.
will run through
You're
Florida.
telling me that right now, and even we'll go back a few years, past 5 years, Florida State, and Miami
They're all
have
down
been
right
the,
now. I
have been the
understand that.
pinnacle
They're
of
all
college
down right now.
football.
I understand what you're saying. They're all down right now. I understand that. But 90s, college football wouldn't be nothing without Miami FSU in the 90s.
And babe, can you
Really?
back up the time machine, please?
Yes, really.
You back up the time
Miami,
machine, please?
Miami was
Don't
so
blue dude,
impressive
don't
in
do
the
it. I
90s.
get the runs
They
when
got
we
their
start
ass
up the time
kicked
machine.
in '92 by Bama, who was not even supposed to be in the game.
So Alabama, yes, is a blue blood. Notre Dame, you obviously have your blue blood programs. But to say that FSU, Miami, and Florida are not at that table is ridiculous.
Well, they're
I
not.
think
We don't
FSU.
make
But
I
they
think
are.
FSU.
You're acting like that we're
Right.
making these rules. We are not making
I
these
think,
rules. We're going by what has been laid out, what the criteria is.
Well, what's the criteria?
Your argument is with somebody else.
Is Florida?
Your argument is with somebody
Florida
else.
State, is Florida
Well,
State,
who's my
Miami,
argument with?
Are they in the top 10 all-time weekends? Are they in the top 10
We're in
all-time
top-
championships? Are they all-time top 10 in Heisman Trophy winners? Are they all-time top 10 in winning percent?
Who's one of the most? Hey, who's one of the most teams voted who have started the season #1 AP all time?
Alabama,
And who's next?
Oklahoma,
Where's Florida State on that list?
I don't know.
Means we're top 6. I promise you that.
But starting the season number 1 and ending
That's
the
a top
season
10,
number
isn't
1
it?
are way different.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But if this is y'all's thing, I don't understand. Whose criteria are we going on?
Florida
And
State.
who do I need to go talk
What's-
to about this?
I think Florida State is an elite program.
Direct him to where.
There's no one to be able to change that, dude.
Hold on, guys.
Of course, I understand.
Direct him
I'm
to
just
where
saying.
he needs to look up to figure out what decides a blue blood or not. That's
Well,
what
I mean, that's why I jump in. Can I jump in and say something really quick? It's not about like no one's going to deny what programs like Florida, so Miami and Florida State, what the dominance over a long period of time. That doesn't make you a blue blood, and nobody in their right mind say no college
put
football.
us in that door.
Let me finish. And nobody's going to say that you guys don't have a prominent place in college football history, because you absolutely do. What
100%.
defines the blue bloods are the people when the sport, became a national pastime and was dominate when it became a news, the top, up there with baseball and stuff. What were the programs that drove that? The programs that drove that were schools like Notre Dame, Oklahoma, USC, Alabama, Ohio State. These are programs that ran that. All right, it doesn't diminish what you guys have done the past 40 years.
Okay, all right. I think I understand what y'all talking about. Y'all talking about with long time. The program's been around for 200 years. And stuff like that.
Yes.
Well, more like 80 years or so since the poll era. I'm looking at when this thing became a national, not some Ivy League where Princeton's winning 17, 18 titles. Not
Post
that
World
crap.
War II. Post World War II.
Yeah.
It started
Post
probably
World War II program.
1936.
John Russell's trying to say something. John Russell's trying to say something. It's hard to hear him. Go ahead, John.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you're talking about football being played back in the 20s and 30s. An interesting fact I just learned the other day about the University of Arkansas is they've been playing football since 1895. And they were an independent until the early 1900s when they joined the Southwestern Conference. So,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I actually did know that. It surprised me whenever I found out. I do think Paxton in the comment section, and I agree with this, says blue bloods is an old school term. Honestly, I agree with that. And I think it's actually a little outdated, but we don't make the rules. The way they label the blue bloods it's just how they label them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people try to associate with, okay, so here's what I think. A lot of people say that whenever you label a team a blue blood, you're saying that they're one of the best programs of all time. They've been one of the most successful programs. That's not what the term blue blood means. Now, do some of the teams that are labeled as blue bloods fit that criteria? Yes, but that's not what defines a blue blood. It's what Tim described that describes as a blue blood. So, unfortunately for Florida State, you guys weren't good or part of the driving force whenever college football became relevant, and that is actually when blue bloods were labeled.
And the longevity thing as well. I mean, it's not just it's like USC, for instance, right? USC will be dominant for one decade and then just take a complete nap the next decade. But then you get the right coach and come back. I mean, when I think about blue bloods, I think you just add the right coach, instant championship contender. That's what I also think about blue bloods. Is just through the decades. If you have Ohio State with a great coach, they win. If you have Oklahoma with a great coach, they win. Oh, I just put my foot in my mouth.
Dame, same thing.
And Notre Dame, yeah. Well, Notre Dame, USC are a lot alike, where they just go to sleep for decades.
These are the ones that you consider true blue bloods. What he's talking about is the next tier below them.
Yeah, you're more of a dynasty. You were a dynasty in the
dynasty.
You were a dynasty.
There you go.
Yeah, which I
Florida.
consider the scheme of blue bloods. That they're just right underneath, which is the dynasties.
Florida State is in the same category as Virginia Tech. They're one coach wonders. Virginia Tech was nothing before Frank Beamer, hadn't been anything since Frank Beamer. And with Florida State, it was Bobby Bowden. He brought them to relevance. And Jimbo Fisher, when he lost all Bobby Bowden's talent, started losing, fled the boat, and they hadn't been anything since.
Yes, same with Penn
I
State
understand
with
what
Joe
you're saying, but I
Paterno,
think
same
Florida
damn
State
thing.
is a notch above Virginia Tech only because Florida State actually won multiple national championships, including beating Virginia Tech in the '99 national championship. So
Yes.
I get what you're saying, and I agree to it to some extent as far as the one coach building the program. But as far as dominance and dynasty, I mean, how many ACC championships did Florida State ruled the '90s?
Oh,
If
yeah,
you were in the ACC, there was no hope. You were not
Yeah,
going to
Bobby
win the ACC in the
Bowden.
90s.
Just one
Florida
pass,
State
now
was going to
Florida
do it.
State.
Well,
Bobby
what was it,
Bowden.
11 or 12 years that Florida State finished the year in the top 5.
That was an
11 or
amazing
12
stretch.
years in a row, they finished in the top 5.
Yeah.
They were
And Bobby
great
Bowden was
under
also
Bobby
a
Bowden.
coach at WVU.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how that how we let him get away, but you know, things happen. Guys, we are getting a little crowded, so I'm gonna rotate a few in. Let's see.
I love the show. Continue it. I will just agree to disagree.
That's fair.
I'm out of here, bro.
Always see the big three as power blue blood programs, and y'all guys have a great day.
All right, buddy.
You too.
Thanks for coming on.
I true.
And I can understand his frustration. And a lot of people say the same thing because they don't understand what blue blood actually means. It doesn't mean that blue blood isn't a label put on teams or programs that have been great necessarily. It's certain criteria that gets you labeled as blue blood. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the blue bloods, as far as who they are, nobody can be added to that much anymore, right? Like, that's a done deal. Blue bloods are blue bloods.
Blue bloods are done.
You know, if somebody has 20 national championships in a row, they're not going to be added to the blue blood list, correct?
But I have to say this, you know, if so, it is a relative. I guess it could be a relative term, but it really isn't. Yeah, the title is in the quotes when you see blue bloods. That's what it is. But you know, if you're 40 years old, 40, it's not like a little kid. If you're 40 years old, right, and you know that I would call Miami and Florida State blue bloods, because why? Because when I was growing up, those were that was the pinnacle of football, and for ages you saw these Miami teams and these Florida State Bobby Bowden teams just dominating the sport. I mean, I remember every year you were looking forward to that Miami Florida State game. It was, you know, I'm here on the West Coast and I'm watching that game because why? That's the best football in the country, and I couldn't wait to watch it. So it depends, you know. I mean, I wasn't old enough to know when a lot of these championships at USC and Oklahoma and USC and, you know, God forbid,
Notre
Michigan.
Dame.
Yeah,
well,
and
even
Notre Dame
the
and
newest generation would probably guess that Clemson is a blue blood.
No.
The newest
Clemson's
generation.
definitely a dynasty. Clemson's a dynasty. In the past 10 years, that what Dabo has going, that's a dynasty. I don't know enough about Clemson history, but I don't know if I'd call them a dynasty.
Clemson's only won 3
to your point, what I was saying is it depends on what your knowledge of blue bloods are and who's the powerhouse during your lifetime. So if you don't know what blue blood means and you're our age, you know, we would guess and figure that, you know, a Florida State, a Florida, and a Miami would be a blue blood. You bump that generation up to really, really young people. I'm talking like, you know, teenagers, early 20s. They, not knowing what blue blood means, seeing how dominant Clemson has been, they would probably think that Clemson is a blue blood because they're not familiar with Clemson before, you know, their lifetime. They're just familiar with Clemson now.
Yeah, they would think Clemson and
that's
Alabama.
how they associate blue bloods, you know, success.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Sadrack forgot about this small school from Tuscaloosa. Clemson, see, if it wasn't for what Alabama's been doing, Clemson unfortunately was an amazing run, but it's overshadowed by what Alabama's been able to do.
Yeah.
You know, but Clemson is right there in the past 10 years. I mean, yes, you know, they are right there.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question.
What about this? Hold on, guys. What about this super chat real quick? Caleb Witten, thank you for the $4.99 donation, says, from an OU fan, do you think OU can claim 3 unclaimed titles? There are 3 titles they need to claim: 1950, 1949, and 1973. OU has 10 titles? I would have to go back and check as to what their claim to those national championships would be, because I'm not really.
I thought they had 7, and if they add those 3, that would make them 10.
Yeah. And my point is if believe me, if Oklahoma could have claimed those 3, they would have done it a long time ago. So I think
Alabama won in 73. They were the AP choice.
Kenneth,
I think
I'm
West
actually
Virginia
going
should
to do a
play
video
22.
on Jarrett Deggy in the transfer portal. So our West Virginia's starting quarterback from last year transferred to Western Kentucky, and turns out he wasn't even good enough to start for Western Kentucky. So he's back in the transfer portal. So
damn.
that kind of actually highlights what I've been saying about West Virginia, about us not having a great offense. Our defense kept us in games that we had no business being in. Our offense was so bad that our starting quarterback can't even make the cut at Western Kentucky.
Damn.
Think about that.
That is pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the transfer portal, though. Everybody thinks I'm going to go into the transfer portal, or I'm going to USC or Ohio State or Texas or Alabama, and then they get in there and find out nobody wants them.
It makes you wonder if we actually got the most out of him.
We have a lot.
I know he wasn't a great
A
quarterback,
lot of people.
but if he can't make the cut at Western Kentucky, maybe we actually got more out of him than what we should have.
Yeah, and you probably dodged the bullets too.
There's a lot of players in the transfer portal that, I don't understand any player entering the transfer portal, especially this late in the game. I just don't understand people or these players want to enter the transfer portal, period. There's so many players in there that are probably better than them, or so some of them, quite a few of them are better than they are.
Now, I do know the transfer portal sometimes, like at Alabama, we had to kick 6 players to the transfer portal in the last 3 months to get under scholarship. So sometimes it's not the player's choice. It's a mutual agreement with the school and the player. But yeah, I agree. When you're a starting quarterback at West Virginia, he volunteered to enter the transfer portal and can't play at Western Kentucky. There's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, did he enter?
I got to get out of here. So here's what we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to finish the top 5. J-Dub hasn't said anything, so I'll let him get whatever he needs to get off his chest, and then we'll go around and do our last word. But before we do that, Tim, I interrupted you. What were you going to say, buddy?
No, I was just going to say, did he enter the portal after he heard that there's a new offensive coordinator and the guy needs to come to USC? No?
Before.
Did he know? So he didn't know about JT Daniels or any of that stuff? Oh, okay.
No, sir.
No.
Yeah, he entered the portal before we even got Graham Harrell, so.
Yeah,
all right, let's finish the top 5
right after the bowl game.
Right, exactly. Let's get through the top 5 real quick. Number 5, Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame, the name is what gets them at number 5. I don't think they're a top 5 team. Number 4, Clemson. I think this is spot on. I think Clemson can most definitely be a playoff team this year. I think they're put in a good spot. I think it will be theirs to lose. So we'll see how they do in the regular season. I think Clemson makes the playoffs is what I'm trying to say. Georgia at number 3. I'm okay with that. I have Georgia at number 3 in my preseason poll, but I do think that Georgia misses the playoffs. I think they take enough of a step back this year to where Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, maybe even Florida being better, they're going to be in more 50-50 football games, and they're going to slip up in one of those. And I think they get beat in the SEC championship. So you're looking at a 10-2, maybe an 11-2 type of season.
Yeah, and personally with the Kentucky game, I think Kentucky's going to have a better chance of winning because they're going to be a little bit ticked off from last year how badly got embarrassed.
Yeah, plus that's on the road, and I think that's after the road trip to Mississippi. It's either after or before, so I like that as well. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Ohio State. 100% agree. I think Ohio State is probably going to make the national championship. Of course, we don't know. No game has been played. But they're looking good in the offseason. And then, of course, number 1, Alabama. Really the only one that I have a big issue with is Notre Dame. There's big questions. Could they end up being the top 5 team? Yes. But if you're judging by what happened in the offseason and what they have, I would probably have Notre Dame maybe in the top 10, but not top 5.
But Notre Dame's going to settle itself out because they play Ohio State.
Right,
That's
exactly. Like first game,
they play Clemson. They play Ohio State and Clemson.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You're going to know right away.
But we gotta remember, you guys, they have a great front 7 led by their all-world Foskey on the defensive line. That's gonna be legit. Every once in a while, every 4 years or so, Notre Dame has these great teams, but then again, they end up being exposed when they play, a really great line on the other side. So we'll see.
But they play Ohio State early, which is in their favor.
That's the big problem for Notre Dame. J-Dub, man, I saw you join, but haven't heard anything from you. What's going on, man?
I say that the title Blue Blood, it's a closed canon. Nobody else can join.
Right.
It's if you say if you have to argue that your school is a blue blood, you're not.
Right.
Alabama has championships in the 20s, 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 90s, aughts, teens, and 20s. They've got 2 decades. 2 of the last 11 decades, Alabama has not won at least one national championship in it.
That's insane.
That's how you get to be a blue blood. Longevity.
Yeah.
And the AP poll, like right now, is it nice that Alabama's ranked number 1? I wouldn't care if they were ranked 50th. Where are you going to be at the end of November? That's where I'm concerned about, not where you are right now. Right now, it's just something for the TV networks to talk about. But that said, here's an interesting tidbit that came out today. I saw it on ESPN. Dabo Swinney is the second active coach. He's number 2 amongst the active coaches in coaching a team ranked number 1 in the AP poll. When Alabama kicks off against Utah State, Nick Saban will be coaching his 71st. He has 71 more games as a head coach leading the number 1 team in the country than the number 2 head coach, Dabo Swinney. The margin is 71 games.
You know what's really depressing for me? West Virginia has never been ranked number 1. So, now I'm super depressed.
And I will agree with our host. I think Georgia loses to Bama in the SEC title game, and combined with a regular season loss to somebody, they'll just miss the playoffs. A great team, but it's just so bloody hard to go back to back. It's so tough to run even run your regular season undefeated back to back. I mean, all the great runs that Saban's had, he's done it twice. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Somebody's quarterback is going to have the game of their life while you're off, and they're going to get you.
Yep.
Last year,
look at last year. Texas A&M, they were not very good, and they caught Alabama on the right week.
Yeah, last year before the season started, I told everybody who would listen to me that Alabama was going to go 11-1 because they were going to get to the Iron Bowl and they were going to lose at Auburn. Little did I know that the loss would be to A&M and not to Auburn. But I knew they'd lose.
Who predicted that? Who predicted that loss?
I think somebody who shouldn't beat Georgia, because Georgia will be the best team every week. Somebody's going to get them. It just happened. It just happened.
Yeah, the margin of error for the thing that I'm trying to make people understand is the margin for error for Georgia this year is going to be much smaller than what it was last year.
Because Georgia doesn't have the defense they did last year.
There was only one game that they even sort of had a chance of losing in the regular season. That was that first game against Clemson. It was a close final score. But if you watch the entire game, Georgia had the game won. Clemson could barely get over the 50-yard line. Georgia just kept shooting themselves in the foot on the offensive side of the ball. But the rest of the games, there was not one 50-50 football game on Georgia's schedule last year. They bombarded everybody on their schedule. This year's going to be different because Georgia takes a slight tick backwards and everybody else takes a slight tick forward. So their margin of error is going to be smaller, and they're going to be in actual 50-50 football games.
See, this is why I think the Georgia fans, especially the Georgia fans, there were all other fans of other schools, but especially the Georgia fans that jumped all over Saban for saying last year was a rebuilding year. Excuse me, you had 3 of the top Heisman candidates, the Heisman winner, and 2 of the top candidates, other candidates, depart from the 2020 team. You had 8 of the first 38 players drafted leave. to go to the NFL draft. Did that mean they had less talent, or maybe not less talent, but not proven? They had to fill in those spaces. Georgia loses 7 starters off that defense to the NFL. They're having to rebuild their defense. There's no shame here. There's no embarrassment. There's no shame. You're just having to reload again. It happens.
I agree
the
with
hardest
that.
thing is to retool a team, especially a defense like that. Retooling it every year like that when you're losing players to the NFL, so that makes it even harder. That's the reason why I say Georgia might take 1 or 2 steps back. Myself,
it makes it easier. It makes it easier when you recruit like Georgia does.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think we can all agree that Nick Saban is the guy that can do that. All right, guys. I got to wrap this up. Kids got school tomorrow, and they got to go to bed, all that good stuff. So, J-Dub, it comes back to you. Last word of the day.
Well, I'll just take this opportunity to say, hey, fellas, by God, tick, tick, tick. The hourglass is moving. We're eventually getting there. Happiness and good health to all of you. Can't wait for the season to start.
Well said, J-Dub. Thank you, buddy. Packer 910. Last word for you, sir.
I just want to say I'm a Carolina fan, North Carolina. But at the backyard brawl, I will be Go Mountaineers because I strongly dislike Pitt.
Hey, at least we can agree on
What
that.
a smart
Well
man.
said, buddy. Good
Smartest
job,
man
buddy.
in the chat.
John Russell on the road. What is your last word, buddy?
Well, man, I'm not going to make any predictions for the Hogs, but just going to say I'm looking forward to a good season. I'm waiting for the season to get started. And roll Tide when I'm not watching the Hogs. Go Mountaineers and woo pig.
Wait. Yeah. Hold on. What I wanted to do. Hold on. I don't get to hear this very often. Can you give me a good rendition of the Woo Pig Suey?
Oh, man.
Come
I've
on,
never
man.
actually done it.
Come on, man. Come on.
Woo pig suey.
That's what I'm talking about. Well done, dude. That was pretty good. That was good. Well done. Come join the show more, all right, buddy?
I sure will, man.
All right, bud. Be safe. Tim, last word for you, sir.
I don't really have much of a last word, but just remember, if you're not a quote unquote not a blue blood, you don't get extra wins or extra points for being a blue blood. And the game's going to kick off. And I'll tell you what, being a blue blood didn't help USC the last 3 years. That's for sure. So
Exactly right. It's not
Can't
like
wait for the game to
you're not being looked
Hey, Tim,
down
will you
on if
join
you're
me?
not a blue blood.
Tim, will you join
Yeah,
me?
I can
Can you
do
join me
that.
at 10 o'clock on Discord?
10 o'clock Eastern time, Discord.
Yeah. Can
I'll
you
try
join
to rush
me
back to the
for
gym. I
a
don't
show?
know. I got to the gym and eat, and I'll do as fast as I can. I'll be a few minutes late. How about that?
Okay, I'll email you the link.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
try to
Thanks.
stop by for a little bit too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tim. Robert, how do I say your last name? Is it France or France?
France.
That's
Remember,
what
I
I
corrected
thought.
you the first time. You remember it this time.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
What's your last word of the day?
Pretty much, I did a lot of research since the last time I was on your show with a lot of the teams. Especially, I took a look at Penn State with Pitt. Literally,
Yeah.
Penn State owns Pitt.
Yep.
I know West Virginia keeps going the way they're going, own Pitt too.
Yep.
Because I looked at the radius of all the teams that they are rivals with. Anybody from Syracuse, Pitt, they own. It's almost similar to Texas. I was looking at Texas and them. I'm like, it's like a similarity. But
Well, Pitt stockpiled all those wins back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and we're slowly chipping away at it.
I saw West Virginia's record against Pitt, and it's not as spotty as when Pitt goes against Penn State. Penn State I literally was looking at a blue wall almost.
Right.
With that, it was like, damn, they owned them like slaves.
For the record, Penn State owned us too. Penn State owned us too. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they still do. Jeff, what's the last word for you?
Possible a couple of videos you could do if you're interested. The Big Ten has found out yesterday, and CBS also realized yesterday, They signed contracts with the Big Ten, and now there's a problem. In 2023, CBS is supposed to air SEC on CBS at 2:30, but they signed a contract with the Big Ten to do the Big Ten on CBS at 2:30.
Oh, okay.
So who's going to be there? And the other part that the Big Ten just realized they kind of screwed up, raising the price too much. Where's all their basketball games going to go?
Oh,
They don't have enough channels to cover all the basketball. So if they do the basketball, then that's going to kill the wrestling. That's going to kill, some of the other Olympic sports that's on the Big Ten network. There's not enough channels without ESPN. So that's something you might want to look into if you want to do a video. There's a couple, nuggets if you're interested in. If not,
send me some information on that.
I can do that. And also, everybody join Patreon.
Oh, exactly. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. To reiterate what Jeff was saying, now is an amazing time to join Patreon. It's an extra step to support Golden Blue Dude, but you get perks for it. We reward you for supporting Golden Blue Dude. You get extra live shows, like they're going to be doing a live Patreon. What time? 10 o'clock Eastern?
10 o'clock. Yep.
10 o'clock Eastern time. So you get extra live shows through Patreon. You get discounts on our merchandise store. And we're actually going to be doing a relaunch of that once we get all of the logistics and network figured out. And it's actually going to be much better than what it is now. But on top of that, the Patreons will vote on what game I'm going to live stream. And then whatever game gets the votes, me and all my Patreons will watch that game live together. And then finally, the last thing, all about the money, score prediction contest. Every single week, I pick out one game, and the Patreon that guesses the score that's closest to the actual final score wins $20 every single week. And you can win as many times as you want. It's not like you win $20 and you're out. No, if you're really good at guessing scores, you can win a crap ton of money. And the higher the Patreon you are, the more guesses you get. So if you're a $2 Patreon, you would get 2 guesses per week. You're paying $2 a month, and you're getting 2 guesses per week to win $20 a week. $5 Patreon, 5 guesses, and so on and so forth. So now is the best time to join Patreon because the score prediction contest is going to be starting in just 2 weeks. You're running out of time to win that money.
Yep. And so everybody that super chatted tonight, we thank you very much for that. And we've got you entered now for a chance to win our prizes. The drawings will be at the end of the month. Remember, everybody that super chats has a chance to win a nice trail cam donated by Traveling Fools. And everybody that makes $125. Yeah, and everybody that makes a purchase inside of our merchandise store, just go to goldenbluedude.com and go to our merchandise store, get you a t-shirt, get you whatever you want. And we'll enter your name there to win a nice set of night vision binoculars. And that's
those are valued
also
at
donated by
$140.
Traveling Fools.
Yes.
$180.
$180.
We appreciate everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great
show, man. It'll be at 129.
If y'all want an extra dosing of a live show, a hangout live show with the Patreons, now's the time to join Patreon. They're going to have a live show at 10 o'clock. I'm going to jump in just for a minute or so. And then all the other perks. We have a lot of great perks. And we're constantly thinking of more perks. We want to reward our Patreons as much as possible. So if you're already a Patreon of Golden Blue Dude, send me a message. Send us ideas. We will consider everything. If it's doable, we will do it. All right, guys? On the way out, guys, make sure to hit the like button. Very important. Even though this is not going to be live anymore, it still helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm and gets it suggested more people see it. They click on it, and boom, it gets more views. So please, on the way out, do that. Thank you to everybody that commented and hit the like button and came on StreamYard. Everybody that super chatted. Let me get this last one in. Denver Snyder, $5 donation. Quick little question. What happened to all the Pitt fans? I don't know, man. I don't know. We don't know. We do know that the Backyard Brawl is sold out. Over 70,000 is going to be there. And from a lot of sources that I've heard, West Virginia fans gobbled up a vast majority of those. So I don't know.
There's West Virginia fans that bought season tickets. There's West Virginia fans that bought season tickets.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that West Virginia fans bought Pitt season tickets just to get tickets to that game. I don't know if that's for real, whatever, but that's what I'm hearing. It wouldn't surprise me for real. So backyard brawl, it's coming. It's coming. A little over 2 weeks away. So counting down, buddy. Well, Joey, let's wrap her up. You'll do your live show at 10 o'clock. We'll see all the Patreons there. Tomorrow we'll have a live show, but I never know when I'm going to do it. So if you're a subscriber, hit the notification. That way you know when I go live. And if you're not a subscriber, what are you doing? If you're a college football fan, this channel is for you. If you're not a college football fan, then don't do it. Just keep moving. College football fan, hit the subscribe button. We just hit 10,000. We have big goals here at Golden Blue Dude. But for today, that's all, folks. And y'all have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.